Hi everybody, I'm here in the void. Let me tell you, it's gotten a whole lot less interesting here now that whole storytime animation fad's fizzling out. Nobody really comes out here too often, but anyway, I'm doing this here because I have officially entered my quarter-life crisis. That's right, halfway to the halfway, and spoilers, there's only more regret on the way. First, let me open up with a question. What is eternity? When you see a movie and someone goes, you'll be trapped here forever if you don't solve my riddle for all eternity, like how concerned should I be? Well, I guess it depends on the context, but even after a while, the best form of eternity is bound to be a living hell. I guess with time being a limited resource and all, we can't properly appreciate that we don't gotta do everything forever, or anything forever. Or at least I hope not. I'm really hoping for something good after I kick the bucket. So in the land of Sesame Street, a place full of Muppets and men alike, to what end should the populace be concerned? Well, across over 4,000 episodes, thousands more if you consider international releases, Sesame Street is the accumulation of the mere concept of children's entertainment. Time is a resource that is irrelevant in this hellscape. Elmo has been 3.5 since the 90s and possesses far more cognitive advances than most of the people legally permitted to drive on American freeways. I would say Elmo is an anomaly, except for the fact that every Muppet here cannot age. They have not grown nor faced new problems. All the main cast have remained stagnant, while their best pals, the humans surrounding them, all perish or deteriorate to the natural process of time. See, although you might accidentally think Sesame Street is about learning basic numbers and letters, it's actually an insightful commentary reflecting on how our loved ones perish to the false of wavering reality. The average person can only linger for so long in this realm until they vanish. So let's evaluate how that happens to begin with. In the lovely little Sesame Street land, found deep in the cleanest part of New York, this is the most unrealistic part of Sesame Street, by the way. This is too clean. With almost no rats except for the ones that are well dressed, those ones are allowed. There appears to be a fine line between street rats and the domesticated ones here. And in the perspective of the growing minds meant to be the general audience, aka your local daycare, Sesame Street may just be flashing colors, but it's an intellectual set of flashing colors that teaches you what a 19 is. However, for me, a 20-something with too much goddamn time on my hands and constantly spiraling when it comes to thinking about what the world may have in store for me next, Sesame Street is a slow, numbing torture for its fearful humanoid residents. They wake up, go outside, gotta deal with some main stage residents. Examples include the obvious Elmo, Oscar the Grouch, Grumpy, Green, 48 years old in canon, Ernie and Bert, the best friend roommates. There's also Abby Cadabby, who's a magical fairy and 4 years old, because yeah, why the hell not? I mean, Elmo's world is a known domain expansion. It was already assured knowledge that we have prevalent sources of magic. It's also very funny to me that someone in the writing room came up with the idea to have her parents divorced. You know, the puppet pixies, that was a broken home. You have Zoe, known for being the sole wielder of Rocco. I don't like Rocco. Count Countula, he's a vampire and he counts with his fingers and numbers. I don't even think he lives in Sesame Street. He lives in Central Park. It's a very real possibility he just commutes there. Can't forget about my personal demon Snuffleupagus, and then there's Big Bird, who, by the way, according to the official website, is 6.5 years old. If he was, why would he be considered for the Challenger flight launch? Why would that have happened? What if NASA had found a way to get Big Bird on the shuttle? Would they have removed him from the show? Would it have been ignored or retconned? What would you do in this situation? Why do we just do hilarious, stupid things every once in a while, and why can't we do it more often? I can't believe this was a real discussion that people had for a minute. Okay, Grover is Grover. I like Grover. He's fairly average. Gonger, Telly Monster, the rest of them. And lastly, Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster is a freak. No baked items should be making people lose their shit like that unless it's my mom's cheesy bread rolls. I mean, it's Sesame Street. They live their lives every day, living life in the lives that they live on the street where they live in Sesame Street because they live there. What else is to say there? That they aren't living there? Because clearly that street that they live their lives on living is Sesame Street from Sesame Street. From Sesame Street. Let's talk about time loops. If you were trapped in an endless loop of time, how long could you go? And I'm not saying like the agony of a crispy 40 hours at a 9 to 5 where you feel like nothing is happening and progressing in your life unless you have a really bad hand of cards in your case, I'm sorry. I'm saying like day in, day out, you can have minimal variety, but ultimately your primary existence is null. That is what I envision life is like at Sesame Street. Waking up, serving a minimal cog in one building, dozens of people residing there at most. That is your purpose. You cannot leave, and all conflicts or education brain will be reset on account of your purpose looping back to these initial stories of edutainment. I mean, again, 4,000 episodes, you're bound to start repeating the same mundane activities and situations after a while, not even considering what the international releases would have in store. No matter who moves or who mysteriously disappears here, we're just gonna find ourselves repeating back to that initial agony without much explanation as to why. It's just like real life. You can only crochet and stamp collect so long before you start losing a little bit of yourself and remember the agony found within our reality. Thankfully, it's not just the same people living at Sesame Street across the decades. We have seen plenty of folk come and go. No idea how they show up or how they afford living space here. I'm pretty sure nobody even has a job. I would imagine each of the main puppets resort to their typical activities and enjoyment for what to do in this world. Oscar will be a burden. Ernie and Bert will be friends and roommates. Sure. Cookie Monster will be a genuine issue in the world that we need to dispose of. Important to note that cookies are alive in Sesame Street, and this is just a thing that happens. That's horrifying to think about. Big Bird brings up how he almost went on the Challenger shuttle whenever he gets the chance. It might be annoying, but it helps him cope. Elmo rules the realm as he comes to terms with like his uncle perishing or something when he gets invited to talk shows and all sorts of celebrity appearances because, of course, we're being outmatched by a puppet toddler who's worth more than a third of the people watching this combined. And Grover. I forgot what Grover does. You know what a typical episode is like. It's Sesame Street, the land of learning, where getting offended by anything this show produces is hilarious because this is what we're dealing with. But I'd like to note the outlier of the Muppets, specifically Kermit. Well, like, the Muppet Muppets, you know? Like, the Sesame Street Muppets are also Muppets. It's just that the musical gangs left this place behind and with the intent to pursue the arts rather than to educate. The Muppet cast are all significantly older in comparison to the majority of the ones found at Sesame Street. They escaped their small town, no longer forced behind whatever hell you consider this, more so stuck behind the equally infuriating show business. And very, very, very unrelated for a second, but where can I get like a good quality puppet of myself? Like this isn't even a joke. I've been trying to get a puppet of me for like, I have a couple video ideas I had in the future. Is there like a good website or commission thing I can do? Let me know in the comments. This isn't a bit. I've had no real help in finding a good puppet making place or anything like that. I want to make a Muppets video. No, Sesame Street is just a place that exists. Muppets are very much real and exist in our world, and I'm tired of them being gatekept by the upper classes as if they're an endangered commodity to behold. I want to be able to walk down the street and know that there's always a chance of a Muppet working as a bartender or buying something at the dispo. But instead, it just seems like all corners of Muppet life in the real world are bad for everyone, for both the humans and the puppetarians. Not to mention a few characters just like disappear, not even move away, just disappear. They literally cease to be. With the exception of the mainline immortal cast members, the majority will remain nameless fodder and cease to be. You can tell because I didn't even bother googling any of the human names besides Jack Black and his beloved Octagons. But even the grand scheme of the puppets, we've lost sight of iconic characters like Frazzle, Sherlock Hemlock, Accordion, Ball of Wax, Darth Baker, Dr. Feel, Elmo's Magic Jacket, a living cookie. We know what happened to the living cookie. The Crumb, Enormous Athlete, the Evil Prime Minister, Giblets Barchikanov, Glass of Water, the Grand High Triangle Lover, Forgetful Jones's Cousin, Hopalong Hamster, I.C. DeForest, Little Murray Sparkles, Mo, and Mo, Mr. Fuss Budget, Mr. Pogo Sticker, The Mudman, Queen of Nacho Pichu, Redusa the Recycling Fairy, Prince Cha-Cha Charming, Teeth, 3 in a Row Smith, Tessie Twiddlebug, Saul the Ball, The $6 Man, The Snurfs, Superworm, Willy Nilly, Top Banana, Wish Pickle, Zizzy Zoomer, Zowie Zound the Upside Down Clown, and of course, Sloppy. You didn't know any of these. You didn't even realize Sesame Street has hundreds of Muppets shrouded in obscurity compared to the main cast. Like, did you know that there's gangster Muppets in Sesame Street? Did you know that even this baby show has its own organized crime ring? How does that make you feel? And then, like, it goes even further. It gets worse. Life of Sesame Street is but a mere competition for survival. Consider little Roosevelt Franklin. He's a little puppet guy who was pretty prominent in the ancient eras of Sesame Street land during the era of the Fertile Crescent, when Snuffleupagus was nothing more than a mere cave drawing. And do you know where Roosevelt Franklin went? I don't. What about his mother? Or even better yet, where's the populace of the family members of Sesame Street? They can't move away because the Muppets know that they're nothing if they're not on the street or in a band. And if they aren't entertaining, they must perish. And all bend the knee, and Elmo all recognize his rule since his entry. His primal infuriation with Rocco indicates disapproval with the environment he has no control over. Rocco is an outlier. He is the outside force that fails to meet the expectations of Elmo's rule. He's powerless in their dynamic, and he is furious. When Elmo's uncle passes away, Elmo wasn't asking questions about like what death was or anything. He knew what was done. He just needed to assure the fact of it. All in all, Sesame Street is a corrupted ethno-state that infests the ecosystems of New York City. You're either a Muppet or an outsider, and even the art of Muppetry isn't enough to assure your safety. Isn't that right, Roosevelt Franklin? Bless up, Roosevelt Franklin. Relevancy at the Sesame Street is a circumstance of life or death. To be irrelevant is...
This is my hand. I can take my hand, and I can stick it in here, and I can play with these fish. And then I can take this...
or death. To be irrelevant is to be deceased. To be a liability is to be removed from this realm and then rot away among the garbage of Grouchland, which what can we say about Grouchland? It's just a pocket dimension, another land entirely. There's nothing else to say other than it's a land full of misery and horror, except for when Elmo shows up, because Elmo fixes it, because Elmo always fixes it because he's red and the main one. I just have to remember that, oh wait, it takes 3 straight months to watch the entirety of Sesame Street. I can't even validate this through research. No self-respecting person is gonna take the time to endure all this endless torment unless they get paid like $625,000 post-tax to do it. I'm serious. I will watch all of Sesame Street. Watch me. Try me. I'll do it, dude. I'll stream it. Give me the money. I will commit. Does this not make anyone else feel a little yucky about the possibilities at hand here? Should we be appreciative of being mere witnesses or fearful of this situation of living? More so, how does Cookie Monster manage to remain functional after all these years with a track record more inconsistent than my vocabulary? Stegosaurus. Life here cannot be good for the majority. It's safe, it's aimless, it has no cohesion as the most popular characters sweep their filth under the rug, obliterating cast members that fail to reach the expectations of popular small children demand as they dispose of the puppets, as they put them under those viral shredding contraptions from a few years back that I forgot the name of. Here's a picture of it. I don't remember what those are called. I understand that this is just a small part of a big city that gets celebrated on the Macy's Thanksgiving parade, but there's so much that I want to know. So much that we have to learn and understand about the environment surrounding us. It's complicated, confusing, uncertain, and reflective of a living situation we need to stay far, far away from for the betterment and protection of all else involved. So we can only wonder and reflect as the unknown remains unknown, as Elmo's blank expression contorts to one of malice, of intention, of remaining dedicated to a fearful agenda, and eliminating all of those who consider the ideas of overthrow. How do you think people in this universe react when they find out Big Bird isn't just like a guy in a suit and he's just a creature that is 6.5 years old and he looks like that? I bet it's very funny. I would pay to see that. Maybe with my $625,000 I will get after streaming the entirety of Sesame Street. I want to do it. Please let me do it. Give me the money. I will do it. Well, guys, that's all I got. While I rot in the void, subscribe, check out my merch, my gamer subs, and yeah. All right, now that everyone's gone, I gotta clean this stuff up. Oh, what? You thought the void was real? No, that was a green screen. No, the void isn't real. Why did you even think that was a possibility? That's stupid. You're stupid. This is going on too long. Where's the end screen?